let's dig into the Oilers stomping the LA Kings in game 2 of the series, 6-0 the final. And Frank, before I get your take on this, as you can see some numbers there, I mean, Connor McDavid, 2 assists. He didn't get a goal. He had 4 hits. He was very physical, took a boarding penalty, but the ice time was something that I really noticed in this hockey game for the Edmonton Oilers. If you look, Connor McDavid, 16:52, Draisaitl barely over 15. Only 2 Oilers were over 20 minutes on the night, and it was Evan Bouchard and Duncan Keith. Bouchard picked up a lot of those minutes late in the game, getting some power play time as well. That's huge for me in a best of 7. If you can have a game that you win while also resting a bunch of your key players and not having to play them 25, 26 minutes, I think that could go a long way in this series. The question I have for you, Frank, after this win, would you consider Edmonton as being back in the driver's seat in this series?
Yeah, I would. I know they're just at level ground at 1-1 in the series, but the way that they responded in game 2, I thought was really significant. It was Leon Draisaitl flying. You mentioned McDavid being physical. Mike Smith getting his first win in the playoffs in 11 starts. Had game 1 sort of unfolded a little bit differently at the end, not with the Mike Smith gaffe, I feel like the feelings would have been a lot different. It wasn't just that they lost, but also the way that they ended up losing. For large stretches of that game, even though in game 1 they were chasing a bit, never had the lead, I really kind of felt somewhat comfortable with the Oilers and the way that they had played for the most part. And so you have a response like you do in game 2. I think the Oilers are clearly the better team. I think the Kings have been a little bit more strategic in terms of the way that they've played. I thought the Oilers did a better job managing the matchup game in game 2. And I think there's a lot of positives for the Oilers to look for and feel heading into game 3 in LA.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned they managed the matchups a little bit better, and part of it may have been taking away some minutes and maybe picking the spots better for McDavid and Draisaitl, but they also went with the 12-6 approach here. Josh Archibald in the lineup, and also the interesting point, and Archibald's a guy who brings a bit of that physicality to the Oilers' bottom 6. He helps out on their penalty kill. He can travel now. He's got a note from his cardiologist. Even though he's unvaccinated, he can cross the border, so that's a player Edmonton will be able to keep in their lineup as the series heads down to LA, and they'll look to get home ice advantage back tomorrow night at Crypto.com Arena.